think the current laws that we have were basically built around a tower. It's like they have a California core. I think what may be coming, or what they're gonna try to force upon us, is a totally different technology, and it requires different, I think, regulations. I don't know that we can stop it. I would love to. But I think we need to be prepared if they come here, because they will come here. They're already, things are already being rolled out in various cities and towns. So it's coming. The FCC has made it very difficult for a town like Woodstock to fight it, but I would encourage the town to at least not make it easy for people. That's where I am.
Okay.
I
So,
mean, I don't want to see it arrive at all, but we should at least review, make sure we're ready, that we have control. A lot of what they've done is taken local control away from the towns, and that upsets me greatly. We need to be prepared, because as Steve mentioned, they're going on poles every 300 to 500 feet. What control do we have over that in terms of height? Where do they go? If they want to access the public right of way, if they need to access public lanes, if they need to access private lanes. All these things are questions that can we turn around to requiring that the application be approved within 60 to 90 days. Can we even do that? There's lots of things in that law I think we need to look at.
Will the attorney help?
hold on, let me just add to that. Are you done, Richard? Okay. So Richard and I had talked about this a while back, and the idea of a moratorium, and I will mention, I think Paul Schultes a while back mentioned moratorium. So one of the things that I did discover that according to the federal government, moratoriums are not legal. This is being challenged, but so far there's been no ruling on that. But presently, as it stands, a moratorium would be considered illegal and land us in court. But again, once that decision makes its way through court, we'll see what happens. The FCC has, their rules have been implemented, where they created what they call shot clocks. And the shot clocks basically dictate the communities have to act within certain time frames. And the two, I think they were greater, but they've been reduced now to 60 and 90 days. And I guess the 60 days is for existing structures, and the 90 days would be for a new structure. And that's the amount of time that the community has to move it through its planning process. They also have indicated that we're not allowed to talk about health at all, that they've deemed this to be safe. I'm just telling you what they say. Don't shoot the messenger here. And also that we can't really talk too much about aesthetics. Now, Woodstock, hold on, come on. You don't want me to talk when you guys are talking, so let me just finish. Woodstock is blessed with a very strong, interesting zoning law. And in fact, that's borne out by the outlawing short-term rentals many years ago. We had the foresight, it was in there, nobody thought about it, but it was in there. So there are regulations. Whether Richard's closer to the truth that we need to bolster them or not, we have the town attorney and the Association of Towns looking into to give us some guidance there on what we could do to tweak it. So we are looking at those avenues. So did anybody else on the board want to, before I go out to the public?
Well, I just want to know, of all our elected representatives, have we reached out to Kevin Cahill and Amador, and have we reached out to Schumer and Gillibrand, and have we reached out to
I had conversations with all their offices last year when this was being rolled out. The state last year was going to put it in the budget where they were going to take away home rule. That got backed out because there was enough of an outpour. Talking to, at that time, Fasso's office and Gillibrand and Schumer, and actually I don't remember where they stand on the 5G now, but at that point, I had discussions about the FCC rules, and they're implemented, so that's a done deal. How the court proceedings come down on that, time will tell. So, Warren, any comments, questions?
Although it may not be legal and may not be any good, I'm in favor of putting a moratorium on it and working the zoning laws to prohibit it. And mostly because in my lifetime, I've been lied to about so many things, right from DDT up to tobacco, all of it. And I've never seen anybody say, I want 5G. That's the thing that really bothers me the most. It's like, you're gonna get this, but nobody's ever come in this room and said, I really want 5G. I mean, I'm on the edge of radio-free Bearsville, so I only get cell service if I go out to the edge of my driveway, and I really like it that way. So, I think we ought to do everything we can, whether people say it'll work or not.
Let's reserve the rest of that for the end of the meeting. Reggie?
Yeah, we favor also doing whatever we can to stop it, or at least being on the record, that we're not in favor of.
Okay.
Okay. So can I just add, I think we need to spend the money. If we have to go to court or we have to hire lawyers or whatever, I'd rather see us spend the money now rather than having people having to spend money on doctor's bills and whatever.
That's why I wanted to go through, like I said, ask the lawyer and talk to our elected representatives, because I would like to see how they can help us.
Okay.
I assume that everybody
Okay,
here.
Abby?
One thing I also
Hold on.
just take part of Laura's question, and it's picked up, I just seen it, maybe Steve, I've just seen it the last couple of weeks. I saw former Governor Walker on TV, and I saw the president even speaking about this. The Republicans, they are setting this as a national priority.
So is the governor.
Yeah, our governor would like to see it too. It's not just Republicans. So there is a push, and obviously the companies, the corporations are behind this, but how much more we need, I think.
So what I'm gonna do is go through and give everybody a minute to have a conversation, and then we'll go from there. Alicia? Abby?
Yeah, I want to know what this insane rush is to inflict this on the entire population. What is this madness? It's madness. There's never been, as you know, as Steve said, there's never been responsible safety testing. Yet we're supposed to just knuckle under and give up all our rights? No.
Okay.
Oh, if anybody wants to know more about this, they should get this book called The Invisible Rainbow, okay, by Arthur Furstenberg. All the proof you ever want is in there.
Abby, thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I'd just like to say a really important point is that humanity as a whole has never lived with the amount of radiation that they plan on dumping on us. And that's exactly what they're doing. We've never experienced this before. There's no record of how much damage this could do biologically. And yet they want to push this out with no studies, and there are studies that say it's unsafe. So it's just unbelievable what they're doing. We need to stop it locally.
I knew more than 50 years ago, excuse me,
I'm just gonna ask everybody to also just give your name for the record.
John Jordan. I knew more than 50 years ago that microwave ovens were dangerous to your health. I was told that when I was a kid. These are more or less like microwave ovens. They're similar, there's a similarity. And obviously, they're not good for your health.
Thank you. Well, I'm just gonna go across. Make this with the cat. No, next, John.
In the green coat, or do you want to speak?
Yes, I want to give to you, put out for your records. I just printed out, this came in yesterday. New Hampshire has House Bill 522, establishing a commission to study the environmental and health effects of evolving 5G technology. This is New Hampshire, the whole state, and it gives all the scientific concerns, all the concerns in every area of concern.
Okay, I'll make copies and have that for the town board. Thank you. Chris, I skipped you. Did you want
Oh, yeah, sure. My name's Chris Finley, and one of the things I'm really concerned about is, the fact that there are standards set, but there's nobody, to complain about. And there's nobody policing this. Nobody. I mean, if you report this, so it would be a little bit like if you were in Woodstock and there was no police. You could set laws or standards, but so we really have to police ourselves in this instance. And the other thing I'm really worried about is the fact that children are much more susceptible to this type of radiation. They're much thinner skulls. Mm-hmm. And the increase, I believe there's a large increase in neurological conditions for children in the United States at the moment and throughout the world. There are actually schools opening up just for autistic children. I've never seen that when I was growing up. Schools, especially large schools, 500 children. Never heard of anything like that. And the other thing is the comparison with cigarette smoke. They told us that, cigarettes was okay, and then they said passive smoking was okay. But now we've got control over that. Could you imagine if nobody stepped in? We'd all be going into the restaurants still breathing in smoke and getting cancer. So thank you. I'd like to thank the board for your positive response tonight. Thank you.
Anybody in the second row? No, the lady turning around. Sorry, miss. With the long hair, glasses. No.
Second row, yeah.
In the second row.
No. Do you
Okay,
want to
third
speak?
row?
No.
Anybody in the third row?
I would like to say
Yeah, third.
I definitely oppose 5G. I mean, I think it's disturbing what they're trying to foist on us. They're steamrolling us with this. I see advertisements on television from Verizon and Spectrum. 5G is coming, it's coming, it's coming. Like a freight train that can't be stopped. And, there are health effects from it. Scientists have studied this. There are definitely health effects from it. It's very disturbing. We're going to be irradiated from one house to another. We almost don't even have to have Wi-Fi to be irradiated. It's very disturbing, and the worst thing is that no one knows about it. PBS interviewed this Pi, or whatever his name was, at the head of the FCC on TV the other night. He just talked in glowing terms about it. There were no questions asked about the health effects. The whole thing is being railroaded through, and it's really disturbing. I think we should do as much as possible to oppose it.
Right.
And I also have a question about all the new telephone poles that have gone up along Route 212.
They're just replacing bad poles. They did a pole survey and they checked for rotten poles. That's all they're doing.
Because I know they are taller than the old poles, and the new small cell equipment for 5G.
Trucks are taller. They want to get the wires
All
out.
right, just
So, could you just give your name for the record, too?
Shelley Vance.
Shelley Vance. Thank you, Shelley. Anyone else in the third row?
Let's start with the speaker.
Okay, Raj? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to
The
speak
fourth row.
for sure. First of all, I'd like to address the town board and say thank you to Richard, Lauren, and Reggie for actually opening your minds enough to listen and to read the material that we've been sending, because you're the three people who have actually shown us that you care. And I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. We've been working on this for 5 years. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for other people because that's the way we are. And we're not trying to cause problems. We're trying to come up with solutions. We've given the board, just so everybody here knows, this is not the first time the board's heard about this. We've been giving them massive amounts of documentation and videos to watch for months now. And when I ask, have you watched it? I don't really get much of a response, particularly from our town supervisor. What I get is, oh, interesting, and that's it. No more feedback than that. So
Okay,
we are
thank
trying
you.
to educate people. Let me speak. We waited for
Your-
3 hours
Your
to
minute's
speak.
up.
No, my minute is not up.
It is.
So my other question is that we would like to have another time and date set to talk about 5G because not one, but two people called this office.
Okay, Raji, thank you.
Let me finish.
No,
Two
Raji.
people called and asked if
Okay,
it was on
you know
the
what, Steve?
agenda,
This is
and they
why
were
this
told
is a problem.
no, and now it's on the
Okay,
agenda.
thank you. Next.
Yeah, I've got a speech prepared, but it's definitely well over a minute.
But so start and you can leave the rest with us.
Okay, but it's gonna have to, it's handwritten, so you're not gonna be able to read it easily. You want me to start reading?
Yes.
Okay, 5G is a lethal technology. It has killed birds, cattle, and insects, including bees, where it has been installed. 5G will sicken and ultimately kill humans through cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, immune dysfunction, neurological disorders, and the list goes on. It will increase the already skyrocketing incidence of autism as well as learning disabilities, mental illness, depression, suicide, severe stress, sleeplessness, and cataracts. It will lead to a vast increase in birth defects and will probably ultimately lead to human sterility. 5G has the potential to wipe out life as we know it on planet Earth. It will exponentially increase our exposure to microwave radiation, and there will be nowhere to escape from it, as malignant millimeter microwave frequencies will rain on every square inch of the Earth's surface from some 20,000 satellites. This technology was originally developed by the military for the purpose of crowd control.
Okay. I'm gonna, if you could just leave the rest of it with us. Sure. And also, your name for the record?
Delia Price.
Delia Price. No, thank you, Delia. Okay. Anyone else in the back row there? Angela? So, who's ever got their hand up there? I can't see. Just Fanny.
Oh, so anyway, I also am very much against the 5G. I think it's very dangerous for all of us, but now that she brought this issue about the Central Hudson, and you say that they are changing the poles only.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I came to this town, there were only 3 cables in the poles.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there are like 10 of them. I want to know who is monitoring what kind of cables they are putting on those poles. Not only they are putting cables, but they are putting these big cases which we don't know what the cases contain in them. And I don't understand why we have to have that kind of trees. I don't know what it is in them. They are huge, huge cables. They are very thick, and you know those might be able. Also, they might be damaging our health. We don't know. Nobody monitors them.
Actually, I think if we got the better cables, then we wouldn't need the 5G and the antennas.
We don't know what cables there are. There are like 10 of them. I would like to know what cable is each one. If somebody can explain to me.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. Did anybody figure out where the traffic light was?
I did.
I'm gonna say where the fire engines come out of the fire station.
No.
Oh, there's none there, really?
Stewart's on 28.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I've seen it.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, what people don't know is that, and I wrote a brilliant story about this. There used to be a traffic light, what they call it, a dummy light that sits in the middle of the road, right at the intersection of Mill Hill, Tinker, and Rock City.
I've seen pictures of that.
And that was
there was parking on both sides of the road.
Like
too.
1920s.
So, Miss, did you wanna
Yes.
just give your name?
My name is Liz. I want to thank the 3 board members who spoke out and are thoughtful about this. And I appreciate very much your consideration and not rushing into it. Secondly, there were people here who wanted to speak on this. And because this was put to the end, and also we're told we have 1 minute, which seems not fair because many people took a lot of time. I would very much like respectfully to have another meeting where this will be the main concern. This is going to affect all of our lives, everything, every living thing, our children, our pets, our plants, bees, everything, humans. And I think it deserves
Well, I'll set something up in the future when we hear it. hear back from the attorney and have a little bit more information, we can continue the dialogue.
Soon, please have it soon. And I also wanted to share, there's a bunch I want to share because I'm living with the effects of microwave sickness from the
Sorry to hear
digital
that.
meter, which I spoke about. So I know this is real, and I know there are other people in Woodstock and elsewhere who are dealing with this. Steve has a show on once a week, and I taped it. And I also take notes, and this so shocked me. On January 21st, Steve interviewed Mark Steele, who at one point was an engineer employed at a nuclear facility, a secret weapon site facility with some very high, this is short, with some very high radio frequency pieces of equipment. So he knows about microwave radiation weaponry. And this is pretty much verbatim what he said. 5G is definitely a weapon, and this weapon system will kill everything. This is an existential threat for humans across the world. These weapon systems were developed in the 40s and were used in the 40s. Over time, they become more and more sophisticated, more and more lethal. They become really, really small, so now they can actually be fitted outside people's homes, bedrooms. Hold on, I'm almost done, it's 2 sentences. Outside people's homes, bedrooms, windows, attached to small and what you would believe to be innocuous pieces of equipment. But when I look at these antennas and the 5G cells, they look to me like a weapon system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Iris? Anybody else that has?
Beverly Harris. I have Parkinson's disease, and about 5 years ago, I went from wireless in my home to hardwired, and I have definitely improved dramatically. And so I thank the board who has stood up and, and spoken in favor of going against 5G. I have been doing some reading on it. Elon Musk has been approved to send up over 10,000 satellites that are going to be beaming all over the planet to bring 5G to everywhere. These are things that are known. So I think if we can get to the point of banning 5G, I don't know what that it takes. You brought up some issues that it's illegal, but unless we do something about it, unless we stand up, it's not going to change. If everybody sits down, it won't change. So it's really important.
Thank you. Alicia?
Yeah, Alicia Kutchik, I'm representing myself, not any particular organization or outfit. And it's 5G. For more information on this, you can go to prn.fm, and they have, including prn.fm, and on their site they have, amongst many other things, a lot of information on 5G and other microwave exposure problems. And also, to piggyback on Mark Steele, one thing about this is it's totally different from other cells. Aside from possibly being high frequencies, it is called a columnar beam. All right, so it's got some, it's not a laser, but think kind of like a laser in that it's columnar, and the wave is very, I forget the word, but it's just like monochromatic light. It's very direct. And
intense?
No, that's not the word.
Piercing?
I tried.
No. It's a scientific word. Anyway, I want to be fast about this. So the other thing is it has the ability to have multiples of these beams from each place. It tracks each user and can therefore beam each user. This also presents a privacy issue. This is also part of the weaponization of it, because it can be made into a weapon quite easily, as Mark Steele has pointed out. And also, there are various other aspects of it that make it different from others. Massive MIMO, I forget what that means, but it's different from cell in that, regular cell in that regard also. And you know, basically that Mark Steele, if you can find him on the web and look him up.
Let's take a look at that. Thank you.
Right. and it's about the Internet of Things, self-driving cars, and all this, which basically it's the illusion of convenience, but it's really tracking, marketing us as a commodity, marketing every one of our habits as a commodity. It even can read RFID chips, including nanoparticle chips that are in pharmaceuticals to make sure everybody takes the pharmaceutical.
And you know, Felicia, I just want to take a moment. Hold on 1 second. I just want to take. I'll let you go. I just want to thank you very much for yesterday getting the announcement out about the oil water order. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for contacting us.
My pleasure.
That's our job.
It'll become a habit.
That's our job at WIOFL.
No, I just wondered why you didn't want to talk to your refrigerator, but that's.
You can.
I sometimes.
You can.
Does it answer back? Does anybody who's not spoken have a comment they want to make? Nobody? Nobody? Steve, I'm going to give you another.
I just want to say, anybody that wants any information on 5G, go to The Truth Sayers, Woodstock.com, and look up on my page 5G catastrophe. That's the page, 5G catastrophe. And I have all kinds of studies and information and videos on the whole issue. If you read that page and read all of those links I have on there, you'll know as much as anybody.
Okay. John, I'm going to give you the last word.
Okay. Regarding the poles, the new poles, which are bigger, and they're bigger around and taller, 4 or 5 feet. I noticed the other day, I was driving by looking at them, and there's a box, a 2-inch by 6-inch by 14-inch box, every 300 feet, and all the way out, including Wittenberg Road. A new box, and I've never seen the box before. It's just like the box.
What dimensions are they again?
10 by 6 by 14. All those boxes on the electrical poles?
No, these are the small ones. They're like that big and this big.
But they come from Central Hudson.
Okay, hold on.
I know, they're putting all these.
Hold on. Hey, there's a conversation with the board. I'll talk to my Central Hudson contact and see if I can get some.
Central Hudson is putting out a story.
Yeah, well, I'll see what they say anyway. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap that up.
Oh, Sion wants to talk.
My hand up.
Okay, you get the last.
Wow.
2 things. I think Donald Trump has a lot of responsibility as agency in this. And if we work as hard as we can, put out a public statement that the country doesn't need this, and Donald Trump needs to be either not elected, removed from office or whatever, put pressure on the administration to intercede to slow this process down. Money doesn't talk anymore, words about telling it swears. And right now, we're listening, but they're not.
Thank you.
This is the latest information about cities in the United States and cities in countries around the world that are saying no to 5G.
I will copy this and have it for the board.
Plus
Thank you very
science.
much. So I'm gonna come back to the board now. Any comments?
No, I'm doing that moratorium.
Yeah,
Laura?
well, my comment is, I mean, I agree, as you were talking about the problems and health issues, I agree with all of that. The part that I'd like, if we can brainstorm about, is how do we stop it? I think we're all in agreement that we need to stop it, but I think we need some more brainstorming about how to actually do it, given the legalities of it. So, any advice people can give for how we go about stopping it, I would appreciate.
I've got some feedback on that.
Hold on.
If you're looking for advice.
Not right now, hold on.
Not right now?
Well, I think the next step is to get together with the folks who can give us the legal advice that we need, and decide what that's, how we can move forward on this. I think we're generally in agreement. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think that would be the next. I think we need some legal advice on how best to move. And if any, Raji mentioned the multiple emails we get each week or whatever it is, but if anybody can seize a resolution on a moratorium, I've looked, I haven't really found anything, a moratorium or a resolution that actually prohibits, not a memorializing resolution, which I think the Florida.
I sent it to you guys.
I thought that was, but I
I
thought
sent
that
you guys.
Okay, hold
Okay, well, then, maybe you said it's been a while.
Question, Bill.
But,
We're answering it.
hold up. Was that, the one I saw today was from Florida, I think?
Yeah, there's one in Florida, but there's,
That was like a more.
I'll send you again the whole
Okay.
set of ordinances around the country.
That are directly
Yeah,
prohibit?
yeah.
One came out 2 days ago in Florida, I sent it to you.
Yeah, I read that one, but it looked more like a memorializing resolution.
No, I sent you a whole bunch. I'll send it again.
Send it again, okay. But I
We
think
have lots of
we
ideas
need
we
to.
can share with you on that.
Okay, email them to us.
Okay, let me finish.
I,
We need to, move ahead. I don't know how you wanna pursue this and who you wanna pursue this with legally. But I think we should take a little bit of time to think this through. I don't know if, our town lawyer may not be the right person, I don't know. But I think we should start looking very seriously. And also, what we're gonna, how we're gonna handle the zoning law on this. A review of that.
okay. Lauren?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Reggie?
Nothing other than I'd like to see what it can be, either the attorney at the town level or with our congressman, whatever we can do to.
Congressman hasn't returned phone calls, so I'll continue to work on that end.
And I will say, I have seen a lot of the advertisements. It's like 5G is going to be the best thing ever, and it's going to be, we live in a rural area. I know I moved to Shady, and I live in the country, so I know I'm not going to have service everywhere. And I think probably we need less to be off our phones and things like that, less. So it's a positive thing.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're gonna wrap up this part of the meeting now.
This is very short. Could we form some kind of a committee about this?
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Because we have to get everybody together and brainstorm it together.
Thank you.
The town needs a technical / environmental / health committee. That's what you need for this.
I'll talk to you two guys in the next few days about maybe you two spearheading this. So I'll talk with each of you separately. Motion to adjourn?
I do have to they seem mild after all this winter, they are coming up in our town.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So,
We have announcements.
okay.